YouTube. This is Chris from Team Innovate. Yeah, I'm putting up a lot of videos from there. One of the archetypes I'd like to talk about coming up in the next couple packs is wind-ups. I think they're I've been testing out a lot of stuff. I think they're the funnest out of the new archetypes that are coming out. And sorry if it's a little shaky, I don't have a stand yet, so I'm just trying to hold the best I can. But yeah, let me get to work showing you some of the cards. Well, first I'm going to show you the part that makes this deck fun. I mean, you have lots of fun little effects, but what makes it super fun has to be the search engine in this deck. First card that's part of this is Wind Up Magician, and what this thing says is that when the effect of a Wind Up monster activates, except for Wind Up Magician, you can special summon one level 4 or lower Wind Up monster from your deck. The effect can only be activated once while this card is face up on the field. Now, so if you have this on the field and you have another Wind Up card and you use it, as long as it has used effect already while it's face up on the field, you special summon another from your deck. Now that combos extremely well off of Wind Up Factory, which states that when the effect of a Wind Up monster is activated, you can add one level 4 lower Wind Up monster from your deck to your hand. The effect can only be used once per turn. So, you have this on the field and you have Wind Up, you get to search one and special summon one. So you thin out your deck by 2 when you do this. If you have, per se, 2 Wind Up factors in the field, I mean, you're special summoning one and searching 2. The deck searches out monsters like nobody's business. And that's what makes it fun, because that makes it a toolbox, because you've got plenty of little cool effects in here. Also, if you notice, this says it can only be used once per turn, the effect of Wind Up Factory. Well, once per turn can include your opponent's turn. In the case of Wind Up Knight, whose effect can only be activated on your opponent's turn, if a Wind Up monster you control is targeted for an attack, you can negate the attack. The effect can only be activated once while this card stays up on the field. Looking at that, you can kind of get a search almost every turn, depending on if you're flipping and setting and reflipping your wind-ups. You can be getting searches off every turn, and it's silly how fast you can search out monsters. Also, they have a couple little nifty creatures that are just small, but they have little powerful effects, like this one. Flip a face-up attack card you control in the face-down defense position, and add one wind-up monster from your graveyard to your hand. The effect can only be used once while this card is face-up on the field. Well, seeing as it flips an attack position down, this combos well off your other wind-ups because you can flip them down to use their effects again, while recurring from your graveyard. In the case of Spellcaster, if you are a Magician, you just need to flip down a wind-up, or if the ruling pans out right, the Magician or Resolve, special summon a monster, search 1 to 2 depending on how many factors you have on the field while recurring. Silly. Wind Up Snail, 2000 defense, so it's definitely a wall. And during your main phase, you can target one set card on the field and return that card to its owner's hand. The effect can only be activated once while this card is face up on the field. So once again, that's a back row clear. It's like a mini Trunade. I mean, you just kind of pop it, and then you return a trap card back. This one says during your main phase, you can target one monster your opponent controls and return the target to hand. The effect can only be activated once while this card is face up on the field. And that is Wind Up Kitten. That's also pretty silly. I mean, they've got that big synchro monster, and you're just like, oh, Wind Up Kitten, pal. I mean, you might not be able to call priority in a couple months, we gotta see, but I mean, Wind Up Kitten's 800. They're not trap holing it, they'd have to Solemn Warning them. If you Solemn Warning an 800 attacker, especially in a deck where you can use Wind Up Bat to get it just back, it's gonna hurt. And so, that one was that. Last but not least, they have some other cards, like Wind Up Zenmeister. And we've already talked about this in our other video. I can put a link to it just straight on my page. But Wind Up Zenmeister, 2 level 4 monsters, and it gains 300 attack for each of its exceeds and materials. And once per turn, you can attach one exceed material from this card to select one face-up monster in the field you control, flip that monster down face down defense position, and during the end phase, you flip it back up. So right there's some shenanigans. There's plenty of other shenanigan cards to flip them down, and some other cards from other sets to flip them back up that you can look up in your spare time. But yes, I've been playing around with Dual Network, and even though they don't have overlays and exceeds yet, it's still really fun to play with just because of the search engine. And so I'm just trying to tinker around with it, and right now I would have to say it doesn't have enough to become even really tier 2-ish, but it's already got a solid start. So I think with some more cards coming out later, can really just be a fun to play deck that, you know, might actually be a little competitive. And so yeah, let me just go through that one more time. That's the Wind Up series. The cards I mentioned are Wind Up Magician, Wind Up Factory, Wind Up Knight, Wind Up Bat, Wind Up Snail, Wind Up Kitten, and Wind Up Zenmeister. I will have links to all of them at the bottom of the page, as well as a link to our other video that talks about some of the first exceeds, because this deck can hit any exceed you want to throw out. Like if you look at the monsters, any exceed that's out right now, and probably any exceed that really comes out, this deck can hit it. And so yeah, I'll put a link to the video for our just, you know, first looks at exceeds, so you can see what else you can come into this deck. So yeah, that was my video on wind ups, and I hope you guys like it. Chris signing out.